Where tempers are flaring over the alleged misrepresentation of the Ogoni interest at the meeting held with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the possibility of resuming oil exploration in Ogoni land. Let's find out from one of those who strongly disagree with the composition of those who represented Ogoni land at the meeting. I'm delighted to have Marvin Yobana, the first national president of Ogoni Youth Council. Marvin, glad to have you join us on Prime Time.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, viewers.
Fantastic. Interesting days, one would say, with the meeting between the president and the governor, former governor of the state, and some Ogoni representatives. Wouldn't you say that too?
Well, it is a welcome development for us in Ogoni land. Because for a while now, we have been clamoring for these meetings to take place and these negotiations to start. Because if you look at the whole 220 oil wells, 16 flow stations, and 9 oil fields that have been abandoned since 1991, as we speak, till today, you know that we have an environmental hazard in Ogoni land and abject poverty in the land. So it's a welcome development, but we need to put the right indices in place to ensure the smooth takeoff and implementation of whatever decisions that are reached from the top, so that those at the grassroots will also accept whatever decisions that are reached. Because it might interest you to know that from 1976 up to 1991, we had over 2 billion oil spilled in Ogoni land in about 292,976 spill sites that cut across 261 communities in Ogoni land, and they are heavily impacted. Half of these communities have not been remediated as we speak today, and they've been living with benzene, drinking water that invested with benzene as we speak today. So we need to ensure that whatever is done should be thorough. Ogonis are happy for the oil exploration to start, but the most important thing is the health of the people. The United Nations environmental team that came to Ogoni land to assess the impact of all these things made a clear recommendation. And the number one on top of it was to provide an alternate means of water supply. And as we speak in Ogoni today, we don't have that. So these are the key issues. Yeah, I commend the effort of the federal government and the National Security Advisor, Mr. President, with the governor of Rivers State, who have been working tirelessly to ensure that they bring all parties and all actors together to the negotiating table. But the most important thing is looking at the critical things the Ogonis need back at home.
Yeah, you talked about putting the right indices in place for whatever they arrive at. And I was discussing with your senator representing Barinada and Pigi just a while ago. What will these indices that you're talking about be?
Yeah, clearly, if you look at the UNEP report, United Nations environmental team that came to Ogoni to do the assessment and handed over that report to the Obasanjo administration, there were 8 aspects that were critical to the people. Number 1 was healthcare. Number 2 was providing an alternative means of livelihood for the people. The third one was providing an alternative means of water supply, because the groundwater, the water in the streams and the river were all affected by this pollution. So the recommendation was, let the people have an alternative means of water. But as we speak today, HIPREP, that is responsible for the implementation of this report, after spending how many billions of dollars, we in Ogoni today cannot see that water. These are the issues. So the president has a good intention in ensuring that development spreads to the Niger Delta. He has demonstrated that by increasing the funding in the Niger Delta Development Commission. He has also expressed that in giving the funds required to HIPREP to operate. And the IOCs have also contributed their own quota. There is a fund that is supposed to be a sovereign wealth fund for the Ogoni people. What is happening to that fund as we speak today?
Marvin.
So these are critical issues. Now,
yeah, Marvin.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, when you say high prep, I believe you were listening a while ago. I was discussing with Bernard and Piggy, and from what I could garner, 1 billion was given for Ogoni cleanup, but only 1/3 completed by high prep, and he told me that about 50% work has been done by high prep. But what you're saying now seems to contradict that. And he's the senator representing Southeast Senatorial Zone of Rivers State.
Well, the good thing about it is that you are a journalist, and Arise Television do a lot of investigating journalism. And while doing that, you know that we have 220 oil wells in Ogoni land, 16 flow stations and 9 oil fields, cut across the 6 kingdoms of Ogoni land. So you can do a visit to each of these kingdoms and find out what is the impact of high prep, the activities, how many spill sites out of the 3,000 some other spills that happened in Ogoni land. How many of these sites have been remediated? Why are people going to court, taking the oil companies to court, asking for compensation? Why are people not taking the water, the groundwater, as good water to drink? Why did the United Nations environmental team say that the water, the groundwater in Ogoni is polluted with benzene and is a cancer-causing agent? So why is the life expectancy of those people in Ogoni now not above 60 years? So these are the issues. We have environmental degradation in our hand, where those key issues have to be addressed. What is the alternative livelihood for the people, the farmers, the fishermen from Ogoni land? Which of the ponds have been remediated that they have gone back to fishing?
Interestingly,
these are clear issues and glaring before us.
Interestingly, Marvin, Dr. Owen Sarawiwa, that's late Sarawiwa's brother, he says there's been some changes, cleaner air, waterways, fishermen have returned to fishing, but it will take some time for the land to be remedied. What's your sense of what he's saying? And when eventually oil exploration begins in Ogoni, how should government and the people of Ogoni make sure that they don't go back to what happened before?
You're very right. The first important step to take is what the president has instructed the National Security Advisor to do, to consult with the people of Ogoni land, the communities, the oil-producing communities in Ogoni land, engaging them, enlightening them on the need for oil production to commence and the need for them to protect their environment. Ogonis are not new to environmental degradation and environmental hazard, so they know the problem of environmental hazards. Now, the issue of bunkering and those who do artisanal refining, have they been able to reintegrate those people, to provide an alternative means for them, and to stop them? What is the collaboration with the local authorities within the area and the community, the CDC, the chiefs, and the youth groups, to enlighten their people to say, look, you cannot touch this pipeline? So these are the key things that needs to be done, which I hope that the committee that's set up will do. Now, the issue of involving all the stakeholders is that in my area where I come from, we have 16 oil wells. I am from the Yola community in Ogoni land. We have 16 oil wells. In that representation that they went for that meeting, not a single person from that host community was represented. Not even the majesty, the king of that place, was not represented in that meeting. But we understand that humans are fallible, they are fallible, they can make mistakes. So in terms to correct these mistakes, they must enlarge the consultation and the stakeholders forum. to involve those critical stakeholders who are major players in these oil exploration activities. And whatever company that wants to come and explore oil in Ogoni land, we must have our equity in Ogoni land. There must be a development fund that is set aside, no matter the percentage that is agreed, for the development of Ogoni. Just as is done in other areas, even in Delta State, it is done in even Eleme that we have here, the Indorama model and others. So these are key things that must be done so that the people can embrace and protect these investments.
Yeah, now
we understand that the president wants to increase the production of the oil in Nigeria because of our dwindling economy. We are ready to support and ready to give the president that support, but it must be done properly. I trust the National Security Advisor because he's somebody who is very thorough, and I think that he's going to do the needful.
Yeah, you even talked about, still talking on what the president said. He promises to unlock the human and natural resource, heal the wounds of the past, ensure environmental and economic security of the people. That must be very interesting to you, hearing the president make that statement.
Very well. I love that statement. You know, the president is proactive. Some other government in the past has played with these issues of revamping the 220 oil wells in Ogoni land, which is very critical. And the Ogoni has one of the highest percentage of gas concentrate in the Niger Delta. So it is very critical. And the kind of oil we produce in Ogoni is the high-grade Bonny Light crude, which sells very high in the international market. So it's a viable investment that if the federal government takes it very seriously, they are going to earn they are going to yield their investment from it very shortly. Yes, and it's an onshore project, so it's not a difficult project.
Yes, a while ago you talked about representation, and well, the governor, Simi, according to him, that they took time, you know, brought consultations with Ogoni stakeholders regarding critical discussions, you know, and you talked about human frailty, and the fact apparently you're not pursuing the fact that there was no proper representation, because you know going forward there can be more consultations with those you feel were not represented among those who went to see the president.
Well, the governor has tried his best. I know that I attended 2 meetings the governor called in respect to these consultations and stakeholders from Ogoni land. The governor is somebody that wants the development of the state. The governor is somebody who has pursued peace and sustainable development for the state. The governor is a very peaceful person in his disposition, and he has taken that mantra of putting the people first in his governance of the state, which is highly commendable. The governor is not the one who hosted that meeting. The meeting was called on the orders of the CNC, the commander-in-chief, and those who coordinated the meetings are not from Rivers State. They are from the federal government. The governor will make his own contribution. It's not everything the governor submits to them that they will accept. We know that. But the governor has tried, despite the political differences and all the booty traps that are put here and there, the governor has been able to transverse that line mine. And in Ogoni, I can tell you clearly, he has been able to navigate the line mine. And in Ogoni, I tell you, the governor has that acceptability. And the people trust him, and that is key in the success of this thing. What, Mr. President, my own advice should be that whatever is driving this process, whoever is driving this process, the governor should be seen as the one driving the process, because he already has the trust of the people of Rivers State and the people of Ogoni land, which is very key, because the Ogoni people are very skeptical when it comes to the federal government. The reason is because the federal government has failed the Ogonis severally. The only time the Ogonis agitated peacefully in the Niger Delta, we were met with vehement resistance from the federal government and the military at that point, which led to the death of several Ogoni leaders. So, and what is critical in ensuring that there's peace and sustainable settlement in Ogoni land is the judicial pronouncements that will be made on those Ogoni leaders that were, in quotes, criminalized and executed unjustly.
Okay, now
like
you have
Ken Saruwe and the others.
Now you have
It is very important that the president should make a pronouncement on that.
Okay, now you have mentioned that. Your senator, MOSOP means Movement for the Survival of Ogoni People. And I brought up the issue of a wife of one of the deceased, Victoria Biera, who is staying in Canada now, but says that government has not opened channels of discussion. She doesn't want money. All she wants is justice. Let government talk with the people, where some are asking for some things for WIWA. But he said that if you talk about healing past wounds, then you talk about Ogoni 13, that there were other 4.
Yes.
That what people should be talking about now is movement for the not survival anymore, but for the okay, you had it. So how do you see that?
That is a welcome development. Definitely, we have talked about survival for a long time, political marginalization, environmental marginalization, and all that. It is time to develop the place. So Ogoni needs development. We have a veritable land. We have one of the best lands in the Niger Delta, where anything you put on the ground, in the next few months, you have your yield. So we need infrastructural development in the area. We need the federal government to do their bit. Let me just tell you something. The senator talked about the East-West Road. Yep. That road has been for the past 16 years on the budget, and it is just less than 5 kilometers. For 16 years, and that is where you have the petrochemical, you have the seaports, you have the refinery. These are federal government's infrastructure that gives revenue to the country, and it was abandoned. Government after government. So it is important that if government pays lip service to one of these few things by putting their money where their mouth is and fix that road, it will reduce a lot of issues for them, including helping the government to get more revenue. Look at the One port. It's abandoned because of the deplorable condition of the road. Look at the refinery that they just revamped in Port Harcourt. The road is deplorable. Tankers keep falling every day on the road. So you see, this is terrible for a government that says they want to develop the place and yet pay lip service to very little things. What is 5 kilometers that cannot be done? So and when the state government wants to intervene, they said, no, leave it. It's a federal infrastructure. You can't touch it. So these are the issues when we see government. Well, I commend Mr. President, and I hope that he takes the bull by the horn and solve this problem once and for all. That will be a plus to his presidency.
As he seems to be starting to do now. Thank you, Marvin Yobana, for your time on Arise Prime Time. All right, well, that's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Do join us again. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, goodbye and thank you for watching.